Coming up next is the fireside chat. This is reskilling an entire marketing organization without losing its soul. May I take the opportunity to invite Mr. Prasad Shejale, founder and chief executive officer, LS Digital Group, and Dr. Aditya Save, co-founder, Ananta Quest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome them with a thunderous round of applause.
Thank you, Kunal. Thank you for the thunderous round of applause. The panelists who are here, a round of applause for those guys. They're just leaving the room and they're taking some 10 people with them. So thank you, guys. Is it possible to reduce these lights a little bit? So in the morning, I was in this room and LV mentioned me twice and I was surprised that he couldn't see me. Now I can see why. So good afternoon. This is a great time to be here for us, not a great time for you to be here. This is post-lunch, second session. That earlier session was really nice, but I could see the body language changing. Any of those last benches who want to come up front, there are lots of seats. I'm Aditya. Thank you so much. I'm Aditya. He's Prasad. Kunal was nice enough to introduce us. We also would love to know who we are speaking to. So I would like a little bit of an introduction from you guys before we get going so that we can figure out what to say in front of this audience, because this is not pre-practice, this is not pre-done, right? So is it okay if I ask a few questions? Yeah? Okay. How many of you are born after 1981? 1981. Yeah, so millennials, right? How many of you are born after 1997? How many Gen Zs in the room? Lovely. You think he's lying? Ah. So the thing to note is that the older Gen Zs are old enough for the younger Gen Zs to think of them as uncles. Right? 1997 and then 2012. So, okay, how many Androids in the room? Wow. How many iPhones in the room? How many people with 2 phones in the room? I was not expecting that. How many people are paying an EMI? And how many people are doing an SIP? Wow. बाकी लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? Lump sum. Very few people have that capability. So this session essentially is about a conversation that Prasad and I have had over, I think, 2-3 months. The last 2-3 months we've been talking about this, but I remember even 4-5 years ago we were talking about this a lot, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use our similar but different backgrounds to be able to talk about teams, people, AI, obviously, because you can't escape that, but the impact of AI more than the AI itself, right? So with your permission, I would like to get started. Prasad, I'm going to go first. Given that you have now run a company for about 20 years and you have a 1,200 member team, right? Decent amount of Gen Zs in that, right? What are the 2 or 3 things that you're noticing with your team when it comes to work culture and their take on life?
What a beautiful question. But before that, how many of you born before 1970? I'm the oldest here, right? Okay, 1971. It's very crazy question to ask, okay, to me, who is 1971 born, okay? But I think I'll make an attempt to answer it, okay? Because average age of the organization hovers around 26, 27, right? Apart from that, out of those 1,200 people, I have 2 daughters at home. Okay, so you see it as a father also there, right? Before I get into Gen Z and their behavior, and I must say here that probably if you had asked me this question around 3 weeks back, 4 weeks back, I would have had a very different answer. Okay, but my father instinct and my leader of the organization probably started thinking a lot. Okay, so answer would definitely be different if you had asked me a few weeks back. There are three things that I am seeing here before I answer the Gen Z, is that the amount of changes happening, it is not dog years versus man years, but what I say it is more of a AI years. What happens in the first month of a year is all what happened in the last year, right? Okay, this is one point. And I'll connect that with the Gen Z one, okay? So that's one thing. Apart from that, I think the amount of geopolitical and economical changes happening now, right? That's the second one. And the third one is the amount of technology changing, right? And when you look at Gen Z and people as old as mine, okay, from the age perspective, and at the same time probably a child in me who every day goes to the office and tries to do something different, new, right? Three things that I see is that the way we were built, okay, to look at things from more long-term perspective, right? Okay, that gets missed. And I'm definitely saying, I mean, if you had asked me that around 1 month back, I've said that goes negative for Gen Zs. But I think it's positive for them, okay? Because their ability to look into the problem and solve it fast, okay, is something which is a positive for us, okay? That's one thing. Second one is their ability, I would say, to question, okay, because there are many incidences, when Gen Z started coming to the, the new generation started coming to the organization, right? So what we do is that every year we hire around 70 to 75 management trainees, right? And I've seen that changes, okay, around 4 or 5 years back. First time, I take session, and first time I heard these people calling me without I telling, they calling me Prasad, right? And asking questions which are
Sorry,
straight.
they called you Prasad, and the earlier generation was calling you Prasad sir.
The earlier generation, Prasad sir, and before that, just sir.
Okay. Okay.
Right? And this is how it was, right? So this
That is why that current voter list thing is called sir, because that's what is vanishing, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, just to, we don't want to make this a two people talking on stage with mics kind of conversation. So I've done a couple of things. One is, how many of you have a Twitter account? Okay. My handle is ADISAVE, Adisave, ADISAVE. You can tweet a question to me. I'll take that question on the stage. It can be for either one of us. The other thing is, for those of you who don't think Twitter is good enough for you, I'm assuming you're on LinkedIn. And so on LinkedIn, if you go to my page, if you just look up Dr. Aditya Save, you'll find me. I've put up a post saying, ask us anything. You can go and put a question in the comments. We'll take that question live in the session, right? If you don't do any of this, the incentive is that the session gets over faster. Or you just sit and listen to us rambling, whichever way you prefer it. So we would love to have questions from you guys as well. Sorry, go
Dr.
ahead.
Save, okay, I will ask, since you sort of ask them to ask you a question, let me ask you a question. I don't know how many of you are aware of it, but Aditya worked almost 20 years in the corporate, more than 15, 20 years, and then last 10 years has been entrepreneurship, right? So you have seen a lot of changes in the marketing space, right? Would love to hear from you also, is that what are the changes and transitions that you have been seeing?
Right now?
Yes.
Oh. I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of हमारे ज़माने में ऐसा होता था. But there's a book that I'm reading right now, which is Morgan Housel's Same as Ever. I don't know if you guys have read it. It's a very light read, very nice book. The premise is the same as what Jeff Bezos said. He wanted to base his business on what won't change. So that's the same premise. It talks about story after story, cases after cases, business after businesses, where things didn't change and therefore people made money. So I'm very tempted to look at what has not changed, frankly. The first thing that has not changed is this is still a people business. Irrespective of how much technology gets in, how tech-enabled, how smart, how AI-centric you become, it is still a people business because it's the person at the other end who's taking a decision. And that person is less rational than he or she thinks he is. So I think the ability to understand people has not really changed. That really gives you a leg up in the marketplace. The second thing perhaps is your ability to tell stories. People who are better storytellers tend to do better in life. It's just a skill worth learning. I mean, it doesn't matter how bad you were when you came out of college, but if you can think of storytelling as a skill, and not sales, sorry, storytelling, you tend to do better and better. The third thing is, don't take this the wrong way, but networks don't matter, reputations do, right? How many people you know, how many people's numbers you have, how many people connection you have on LinkedIn, doesn't really matter if that person doesn't think about you in a certain way. So I think reputation matters. And the fourth thing, which I think is common to LLMs and human beings, is that both of us hallucinate, right? Both of us hallucinate, both of us don't exactly see reality the same way, not all the time in any case. And I think it's a feature rather than a bug, especially in human beings, the ability to not see reality the way reality is, and I think that has not changed in a big way. In fact, whatever you guys have seen in the last 2 months happening in the country gives you a sense that when people move away from the established reality, you get a lot more opportunities, you get a lot more alternatives. So I think those are 4 things I would think of. Okay, can I go back to you? Okay, so more direct marketing question. Given how much, everybody keeps talking about ecosystem change, how has marketing team interactions changed for you guys?
See, so if you see, the last few years had been much faster. And when I say marketing interactions, I would say, internal to us, okay, where there are multiple different services and skills that we have. But more than that, I would also mention about the expectation of the consumers that we work for, right? And the consumers that we work for, right? Last few quarters, I would say, or years that I would say, is that it's truly about, faster, better, and cheaper, okay? That's one part of it, wherein with the AI, it's the expectation of the brands that we work with, is that can I do it? Can you come back faster? Can you do it better? Can you do it cheaper? Okay, so that's something which is happening. But that's more from the day-to-day operations.
But that's not change, right? They've always asked for that.
More for that, right?
Yeah.
More. The urgency is more there,
okay.
right? But that's what I was coming to the second part of it, right? Wherein, if you go deep down there, one is about the technology part of it, the first thing that I get. But my customers also has the younger teams now, right? The typical way of interactions which used to happen from top down, it doesn't happen now that much, okay? The way they vibe, my
younger marketeers
to them
vibe with,
is a very different way of doing.
Sure.
Okay, so it takes a lot of time for me to actually, even there are times when I used to say that it has to be a lot formal. Okay, I used to somehow, sometimes I used to comment on the emails, but that's their language, right? Second one is also the collaboration between the youngsters is at some other level only, because they understand each other. There are, for example, very interesting story I can tell you. For one of the large edutech customer that we have, they were running a campaign and they wanted to see the efficacy of that campaign. And a typical marketeer would do all those BLS studies and things like that, right? These 2 kids, they thought that
Sorry, when you say kids, it's contextual to you and me, right? So those kids are adults.
Yeah. No, so
okay. No child labor, so I'm just specifying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So these 2 youngsters over the weekend, okay, they built one AI app which scraped through some of the pages and they put an index around it and said that if I see this index growing, okay, it has made the impact. Okay, so very different way, and they didn't take any permission, right? Uh, they, the budgets that they had, of course, the way you build the cultures of the organization where every teams we get some AI budgets. So he used it on a Monday morning. He comes to me and said that, Prasad, I want to show you this. So these are the changes that I see. So collaboration, apart from the normal one, better, faster, and cheaper, I think the AI is really democratizing the way work gets better and faster at the level which is probably 3 steps down, 3 layers down. That's something that I see a lot.
When he was telling me this story just now, the line that I picked up was the person came in and said, Prasad, this is what we built, right? Not Prasad sir. So you can, average age of the person who's saying this also matters, right? There's a very nice question.
That is also, because today we are talking about reskilling, right? And the marketing organization, right? In my 30 years of experience, this is the first time, I started my career as a software engineer, right? This is the first time, okay, I see that the ability of idea to MVP has cut down 48 hours. Lesser than that, okay? But I'm saying enterprise ready, right? If you do the vibe coding, but I'm saying, okay, for 24 hours, 2 hours, assume, okay, if you get into one of those platforms, right? But what happens is now, who is reskilling whom? Is the top management reskilling those guys? Or the percentage of new age guys who are reskilling the top guys?
Interesting one, right?
It's a very interesting one. Now the second part of it. I always say that the new generation, today's topic is getting into a lot of new generation because I think someone was telling me every month a million 18 years old comes
A million
through,
people
right?
in India are turning 18 every month.
18,
now.
right? So in next 5 years or 6 years, I think those are the people who are going to, have.
So anybody who feels young, you have another thought coming.
But there are two things, okay? Again, coming back to 3 weeks back, what happened, right? As a father of 2 daughters, okay, I used to think that seriously baatein nahi karte, okay? But I think this is the people who, there are 2 aspects to it, right? One is, they have learned to ignore, right? It doesn't mean that, they don't have views. And now I'm taking it back to the organization.
Yeah.
The very person who comes to me and says that, Prasad, I have done this. Why is he doing it? Because if he thinks I'm worthy of his passion, not worthy of my designation and all that stuff, then only he tells. So what happens is your ability to be.
So you have to work hard for their
You have to work very hard, okay? Because if he builds something and if you don't, he will never come to you. If there is a hackathon, you have to be part of it. You may not win it,
but you have to be a part of it.
But you have to be part of it.
I want to segue this into a question. Is Sabah here? So Sabah has a very nice question, and this guy will love it. I'm just reading half the question, and he'll salivate. How do you preserve the culture of an organization? And how do you make them think again like humans, to bring back compassion, to start thinking on their own and not just rely on AI to do everything and the thinking on their behalf? Short answer. We got a lot of these to go.
No. So, you know what? I'm not sitting here and, saying things which probably come from HBR or, one, okay? Now, all of us know that culture is the soul, right? A professor of mine during my MBA days used to say that the culture gets set on the first day when you walk up to the water cooler and pick up your own water. Okay, right? You get where I'm coming from. Everyone sees that. So, if you really think, and that is what we did, I stood around a year back in front of everyone when all the big tech companies were talking that, the jobs are going to get lost. Stood there out in front of thousands of my people and said that jobs will not get lost if all of us work together. Okay, so saying that we will tide over that, right? Second one is every day, if you believe that people are not going to get replaced and it is not going to be sandwich. Okay, there are a lot of theories which are coming in AI, since you said AI, right? Wherein they are saying there's a sandwich theory. I don't know anyone. It got discussed a lot in Cannes, wherein they said, human, AI, human. Yeah. Okay, that's a sandwich that they talk about. I don't believe that. Okay, they also talk about human in the loop. Okay, so what we started saying is that AI is your assistant, right? And your job is safe. And I'll give you the tech enabling programs. There are 40 tech champions. You come out with the problem and you build it. And post that, there are more than 60 applications I built from bottoms up. It's not tops down, it's bottoms up, right? So that
which
is
means
where I
that
would say.
which means that they were not mandated. People at the the junior staff were actually allowed to do
the way
what they
say
wanted.
no, it's not allowed.
Okay,
Who
good,
looks for
lovely.
allow?
Yeah, absolutely.
No one allows.
Yeah.
If you say that I will give you, I'm with you with this, I build the application with them, give every teams get some budget, and if they have an idea.
So existing processes with AI embedded in them.
Workflow change, right? For example, simple. Yesterday only there is someone who someone who works on case studies, n number of case studies. She said how great would it be that I have a case study generator, okay? Not a typical one, you put it into Gemini and do, right? There are multiple guardrails and, there's a rack system which gets built, right? So she comes, puts that suggestion and asks for a tech champion. And within 2 weeks, enterprise ready, application comes to it, right? So this is what, it is, a typical, consulting view always has been, there is this boss, okay, who knows 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay, he will say what to be done and everyone will follow. That will not happen because we are not capable. I can truly say so. I know. So this has to be, that's a culture probably I think in the AI space. Since you said AI, there are multiple aspects of culture that we can talk about, but AI is all bottoms up, workflow, re-engineering using AI as a co-pilot.
Okay, quick one. I think we have more questions than the time that these guys will allow. So we'll try and answer them in any case on LinkedIn. But I'll just take a couple of these things. I just want to respond to what you just said about, I don't run an organization the way he does, right? My approach is, I work with, I think, 47 people today, but they are all as independent as I am. We run 3 separate businesses. People work the way they want to, people work when they want to. They're just responsible for the stuff that they choose to pick up, right? So, so it's a very loosely held open organization, if you can call it. Nobody has a job. Nobody has a job if they don't work. If they work, there's more than enough work to go by. That's one. The second thing is that this calendar year between Jan and June, Reem, to answer your question, I have seen a sea change in our ability to turn around stuff. I'm not a techie, I'm BSc mathematics, so I've never been an engineer, can't code to save my life. But for me to not have to wait for somebody else to create what I have in mind has been a big, most of you are nodding, so you've gone through that experience, right? What we've been able to do is we've been able to break the connection between, thinking, waiting, and then doing, right? So doing has become faster. You try it out, and then you decide whether it works or not. The second thing, and this is just more for you guys, he mentioned guardrails, right? So there's this very nice concept of ontology, O-N-T-O-L-O-G-Y, ontology, which comes from Aristotle, fairly old. It's about guiding principles, it's about guardrails, and that now is applied to agentic AI. There is something called neurosymbolic AI, if you can just look it up. There's a very nice lecture by a really old gentleman, and when I can say old, he must be really old. But he makes a lot of sense. It's on YouTube. If you just, I think if the keywords would be neurosymbolic agentic AI, you'll be able to get it there. Connected to this, I want to ask a question, and there are two people here who asked this. Sorry, let me just take their names. There's Vishal Menon and Siddhi Hursule, right? And both of them are asking about how to build skills in marketing so that you remain relevant for the next 5 years or next 10 years. They're saying a decade, but I'm assuming at least 5 years ho jaye to they'll believe you more.
What's your background? Can I understand that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I need to tell what strategies, research, what we have to do, because we need to do a lot of awareness when it comes to health tech. And this is kind of, we wanted to turn this health habit format. So over the decades or over the 5 to 10 years,
Okay,
we
so
wanted
I
to
got
know.
that. Okay, so
Yeah.
I got the background right. You work with founders and in a space which is more of a health, I would say health tech, right? Okay, and the question is that how to stay relevant in marketing, right?
What skills do you need?
What skills do you
And
need?
if
right?
I can follow up her question, what is the playbook that you think is valid for your teams? And I'll answer the question right before you ask.
So I think I think Dr. Save should be able to answer that much better because he's in marketing for many years. Okay, so he should talk. But I think the basic principles of marketing are the same one, right? I would say that, right? It is finding the white space, making a compelling story, reaching it out well, and probably now I would say, you have a data, so analyze the data and go do
हो
the
गया,
close loop,
इतना ही तो है.
right? But what happens is, so keep that aside because you said what are the, I would say new skills to say if I have to say that, right? I think I would say, don't be scared of technology, okay? Kudi maar dena, okay? Whatever is a new thing, just jump into it, right? And I think at your age, fear of failure is not there. So keep doing what you are doing well. That's it.
Thank you.
So slightly different, but perhaps similar. I think 3 things are important at any stage of life. I think, we're joking about our age because you're talking to an audience which is largely younger. I'm younger than him, thankfully. But the thing is that this company of mine that I'm a co-founder of, Ananta, we work with people who are between 60 and 70 years of age, right? So I'm usually the youngest person in that room in any conversation, right? If I meet customers, if I meet, prospective partners, I'm the youngest person in the room. So one, I think context is very important. So if you are today in a certain role, what is the context of that role? What is the context of that category? Okay. The second thing, perhaps writing really helps. And by writing, I mean, if you like Gemini, use Gemini, but then write for yourself and then use Gemini for help. I just published a research paper on healthcare concerns, part of which is policy, part of which is medical insurance, part of which is medical records, part of which is NCDs, which is non-communicable diseases in India, and I'm not from a medical background, right? But if I can do enough research, I'm able to think about a topic broadly. The third thing I think is this whole IDA model that marketing uses, right? Think about yourself as a product. The first thing you need to do is awareness. So become more aware about yourself, and by that I don't mean, airy-fairy stuff. Do serious research work on it. So for example, give some psychometric tests. There are lots of them online now, right? Give some psychometric tests. Try and get a 360 done for yourself. Either ask people or there are lots of tools. We also have a tool which we put online, where you can do a 360 for yourself from peers to friends to ex-bosses, etc., etc. Find out as much about yourself as you can. That's one. Second is, in a more shorter term scenario, look at the next 6 to 12 months. look at your JD, look at what the role demands and map your skills to those demands. Make a very, very straightforward, sharp impact on the role. You need certain skills in the short term. So mapping, I think, would be the second one. And the third one, like Prasad already said, improve your doability, which is don't talk. Don't give gyan on LinkedIn. Jump. If you fail, worst case, you have burned some tokens, right? But it will end up showing you more of what you can do or what you're capable of. And genuinely speaking, if you know how to judge people, people know how to judge you. So don't bother about what people think, right? Both of us could have made a fool of ourselves in this session, right? And most of you are laughing, smiling. We think we've entertained you, right? They've already said time is up. So don't worry about too much about other people. You live your life. Most people will align with you when they have to. Anything else?
You asked me a question about playbook, right?
Yeah.
That's there in my the logo, right? The tagline, challenge the now, right? So that's, you know,
That's a very nice, yeah.
that's something that we always do. There are 4 things that we believe in, which courageous, humane, agile, and passionate. If you have that, these are the North Star for us. If you do this,
to interrupt, we are just pressed for time.
sure.
But
Thank you very
so
much.
much for your valuable insights. We would like to take a photograph, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. You have a lovely audience.